Happy International Women's Day. As you know, here at Modern Lady Vibes, we're all about redefining what it means to be a lady in the 21st century by teaching independence, financial literacy, and business sense. So today is no different. Today's Money Mondays episode is going to cover the top 3 financial moves that women can make to become CFOs of their financial empire. This year's theme for International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. We are choosing to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality around the world. A 2018 Bureau of Labor Statistics report showed that with all things being equal, women earn on average 81 cents for every dollar a man makes. As if this wage gap is not enough to contend with, we know that women of color have a wage gap that is even larger. Additionally, women tend to live longer than men and are usually the ones who will take more time off of work to care for older parents or for the children in the home. Add to that there are ongoing discrimination issues that women have to deal with being less likely to receive raises or to be promoted, then we are looking at a real snowball effect of financial hurdles that women have to overcome just to be able to retire at the same level as men. To put all of this into perspective, if a man and a woman began working full-time at 20 years old and worked for 40 years, that man could retire at 60 years old, and the woman would have to work an additional 9 years just to be able to make up the lifetime wage gap that she would have incurred over that period of time. So is all hope lost? Is there absolutely nothing that women can do to get ahead financially? Of course not. There are plenty of things that we can do as women in order to make sure that we end up just as financially independent and secure as men. Today, I'm going to cover the top 3 things that we can do as women to take control of our finances and become CFOs of our financial empire. So let's begin with number 1. I cannot stress enough the importance of prioritizing retirement. I really don't think this topic is covered to the extent that it should be in financial education circles, but saving for retirement should be as non-negotiable as paying your rent or mortgage or your water bill or your electric bill every single month. Time is our most valuable asset when it comes to saving for retirement. And I have an example to illustrate this. Let's imagine that you currently make $50,000 a year and you want to be able to live off $50,000 a year in retirement. Of course, we have something that's called inflation, which means that it's going to take more money in the future to buy what $50,000 can buy today. For example, if you are currently 25 years old and you want to retire at age 65, 40 years from now, then in order to live on $50,000 of today's money, you would need to take out over $110,000 every year in your retirement just to be able to buy the same things that $50,000 can buy today. And that's just accounting for the average 2% a year inflation that we can expect. So looking at our example, if you're going to retire today and withdraw $50,000 a year in retirement, you would need $1.25 million. I cover how to calculate this number in a previous Money Mondays video. Of course, taking inflation into consideration, that $1.25 million is going to be a larger number depending on how far into the future you actually plan on retiring. I have a chart here where I've calculated the true financial independence number based on whether you are 25 all the way up to 55 years of age and plan on retiring at age 65. As you can see, the 25-year-old has a much larger financial independence number because her retirement date is much further into the future, which means that there's more interest that's going to be accumulating over that period of time. Now that we have the financial independence numbers for each age, we can calculate how much you would need to save each month depending on how old you are. Now we're going to assume that for every one of these examples, you're starting with $0 saved and that you're investing in an S&P 500 index fund that is averaging at least 9.8% per year. What I really want you to take away from this example is what percentage of your annual income you need to save based on how many more years you have until retirement. You see, the beauty of percentages is that they can be applied to any salary. If you are currently making $30,000 a year and you want to live on $30,000 a year in retirement, you can apply these percentages. Same thing is true if you're making $100,000 a year and you want to live on $100,000 a year in retirement. Now, do keep in mind, if you look at this chart, that the older you get, the more of your annual income you need to be putting away if you're currently starting at zero. Unfortunately, if you are currently 55 years old and you have not started saving for retirement and you want to retire by age 65, you're looking at having to save 181% of your income. Obviously, it's impossible to save more than you make. And so what we would be looking at here would be you finding additional sources of income that you can use to supplement in order to help you build that nest egg. Creating additional sources of income is beyond the scope of what I want to cover in today's video, but just know that this is why we talk about time being the most valuable asset that you have. There's just not enough of it for you to be able to make it up the longer you wait. So let's take this back a little bit. Now that we know what percentage of our income we need to be saving, let's look at a game plan that we can create to be able to save most effectively. Now, there is an order of operations, if you will, for how to save. Not all savings accounts are created equal. Some provide many more tax advantages than others. So there is a specific way in which you should be prioritizing these accounts to best take advantage of the tax savings. I'm providing here a quick list of the order in which you should be investing. Feel free to stop the video and take a snapshot of this list. Okay, so going down the list one by one. First, you want to focus on any employer match that you may be receiving at work. Typically, this is through investing in a 401k. If your employer matches, let's say, up to 3% of your income, then you want to be investing at least 3% into your 401k. The primary reason for this is that the employer match is part of your compensation package. This is literally part of your salary that you negotiated when you took this job. If you are not at least taking that full employer match, then you are missing out on money that has been promised to you in order to do the job that you are doing. So you want to start by maxing out any employer match you have in a 401k or a similar account. The next account that you want to start investing in is an HSA. An HSA is a health savings account, and it comes with a particular type of health plan that you would choose through your employer. If you do choose an HSA, it typically comes with larger deductibles. So this type of health plan is not going to work for everyone. If it is something that you can take advantage of, then this would be the next account that you want to invest in. For 2021, the investment cap for HSAs are $3,600 for individuals and $7,200 for families. So let's take a look at our example again. Let's say you make $50,000 a year and you want to retire in the next 25 years. Either you're 40 and you want to retire by age 65, or maybe you're 20 and you want to retire by age 45. 25 years is 25 years, and it's going to be applicable in this case. If you're starting from zero, then you need to be saving 38% of your income. For this example, on a $50,000 a year salary, then that means saving over $19,000 a year. Breaking down that $19,000 into the order of operations, we can see first that this individual can receive an employer match of 3% of her income. 3% of $50,000 is $1,500 a year. So $1,500 of the $19,000 is going to go to the 401k. Next, we look at the HSA. she can max out her HSA at $3,600. So the next $3,600 for the year is going to go into the HSA. The third order of operations is to max out your Roth IRA. Roth IRA contributions can max out at $6,000 a year. So out of the $19,000, we've now deducted $1,500 to receive the max employer match. We've deducted $3,600 for the HSA, and now we can deduct $6,000 for the Roth IRA. At this point, we can now go back to the 401k and continue contributing because the 401k does provide a tax advantage. 401ks allow a max contribution of $19,500. And because 401ks do offer some tax advantage, they're going to be better than simply putting the remainder of your money into a brokerage account. A brokerage account has zero tax advantages. You're going to invest with money that you've already paid taxes on, and when you withdraw that money, you have to pay taxes on that money. So you want to avoid putting your investments into a brokerage account until you have maxed out all of the other tax advantage accounts that you can max out. And an example of a taxable brokerage account would be Robinhood. If you are buying or selling stocks through Robinhood, then you are not receiving any tax advantages whatsoever. They don't allow you to do any type of investment through the tax advantage vehicles like a Roth IRA or traditional IRA. So just know that that's not going to be where you want to primarily put your investments if you're just getting started on your investment journey and you have not already maxed out all of the other tax advantaged accounts. The last few things I want to say with regard to the order of operations for investing is to use this list based off of how much money you have to invest and what accounts you have in your possession. For example, if you are the 25-year-old who only needs to save 11% of their income on a $50,000 year salary, then you'll be able to work down this list by maxing out the 3% employer match, maxing out the HSA contribution, and then you'll have a few dollars left over to put into your Roth IRA. But at that point, you would run out of the money that you need to invest. So you would just work your way down this list until you run out. The other thing to keep in mind is to work down the list based off of the accounts that you have. If it doesn't work for you to have an HSA account or that type of health plan, then you would simply move from the 401k down to the Roth IRA and keep moving down the list until you've maxed out all of your savings. So you want to just apply this list based off of your own personal needs. The last thing is if you are a stay-at-home mom or you are married or with a partner and living on one income, then you can still take advantage of these financial tips. What you want to do is sit down with your partner and create a financial game plan based off of what the two of you want to have to live off of in retirement. Instead of your partner applying all of their retirement savings to their 401k and their Roth IRA and the individual HSA account, what you may want to consider is opening up your own Roth IRA account and making sure that some of that savings, that retirement savings, is being allocated to your Roth IRA in addition to their employer account and their Roth IRA, as well as an HSA account if you have one. Now, I spent a good amount of time covering prioritizing your retirement because, like I said, it is the most important step that you can take. But let's go ahead and move on to the next two things that you can do to take control of your finances. The next tip is a 2-for-1. After you've set aside the percentage of your income that you need for retirement, you're going to look at the remaining amount of income that you have, and you're going to determine how much you can put towards building your emergency fund and paying off your high interest debt at the same time. Now, your emergency fund should be at a minimum of 3 to 6 months of your monthly budget. Your emergency fund should be up to 2 years of savings by the time you reach retirement so that you have a cash reserve set aside to live off of during any recession period. But until then, you want to have at least 3 to 6 months to get you through any potential unemployment or emergencies that may happen that would take a major hit to your finances. If you currently do not have any emergency fund savings at the moment, then instead of building your emergency fund and paying off your high interest debt at the same time, you want to allocate any extra money you have towards your emergency fund until you have at least 1 month of your expenses saved. 1 month of savings is going to be just the padding that you need to carry you over for any immediate emergency. And at that point, you can then go back to allocating that money towards both building your emergency fund and paying off high interest debt. Feel free to watch my video on the best way to pay off your debt to get a more detailed explanation of exactly how to allocate any extra money to your debt payoff plan. And the last tip that I have for helping you become CFO of your financial empire is to increase your financial literacy. You can do this by following financial educators and reading books on personal finance to better understand how you can take control of your money. Here's a list of just a few of the financial educators and influencers that I personally follow and absolutely love. And of course, with it being International Women's Day, I made sure to focus my list specifically on the top female financial educators that I follow. Many of them have Instagram and YouTube accounts, as well as blogs or podcasts, and some of them have even published their own finance books. So make sure to check out all of the amazing resources that these women offer, and that is going to be a great starting point for your financial education journey. So there you have it. Those are my top 3 tips for how you can become CFO of your financial empire. Of course, the work doesn't stop today. We will continue to choose to challenge the status quo and continue to call out gender inequality and bias. The work continues. In the meantime, you can share this video, you can share resources that you have so that we can help one another to continue to increase our financial literacy and to make sure that we're maximizing the opportunities that we do have right now to achieve financial independence. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next Monday.